Hi, this is Alec from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book on record to play. Today's book is the Christmas chipmunk story for 1984. So let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Chipmunk Read-Along book. Every time you hear Alvin sound his harmonica, it means it's time to turn the page in your storybook. Now, if you're ready, we'll start the Chipmunk story. And remember to turn the page every time you hear Alvin's harmonica. One rainy night, David Seville sat at his piano, trying to write a hit song. Suddenly, the telephone rang. Dave picked it up and said,
Hello? Yes, Mr. Mogul, I'm working on it. Let me sing you a few bars. When the silver moon comes up in June. What? You hate it? Your Megabucks record company won't record it? Don't worry, I'll have a hit for you in no time.
Dave's heart sank. Here he was in a cold, leaky house with the landlord hounding him for the rent and no money coming in. There was a knock at the door. Dave opened the door. On the stoop was a basket with a note attached. The note said,
Dear kind sir, because the winter's been so cold, there's been a severe nut shortage, and I am no longer able to feed my 3 babies. Please, care for them as if they were your own. A loving mother.
In the basket were 3 cute little chipmunks. Their name tags said Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. Dave picked them up and brought them inside, whispering,
Poor little things. I guess I better go out and buy some food. Poor little things.
As soon as Dave was gone, 3 heads popped up in the basket.
Poor little things. He's gotta be kidding.
And they all hopped out to explore their new home. Soon, Alvin was loudly playing the piano. Simon was checking out Dave's books.
How to write a hit song.
And Theodore was eating everything he could find in the kitchen. When Dave returned from the store, he was stunned. There were the 3 little chipmunks asleep in their basket. But Dave was shocked at the mess they had made. Dave made a decision.
Tomorrow those guys will learn that neatness counts. But if I don't finish that song, none of us will have a home to keep neat.
He quietly put the groceries away and went to bed. The next day, Dave and the 3 chipmunks were eating breakfast when Mr. Roach, the landlord, knocked at the door. Before opening the door, Dave whispered,
Quick, guys, under the table. He doesn't allow pets.
Mr. Roach barged in, booming.
I've got some complaints, Seville. No rent, loud music, and pet rodents.
Alvin was indignant and, as he tied the landlord's shoelaces together, he muttered.
Rodents?
Mr. Roach went on.
If I don't have the rent by tomorrow, you're out on your face.
And as he turned to leave, he fell flat on the floor and screamed.
You and your rodents will pay for this, Seville.
After breakfast, Dave went back to the piano and the chipmunks washed the dishes. Only one plate in 3 made it onto the shelf in one piece. Little did the boys know that Mr. Roach was hiding outside with the net. Every time he saw a chipmunk alone, he scooped him up through the window. Soon all 3 chipmunks were captured. Mr. Roach snarled,
Now I'm taking you, Roach, where you belong, to the pound.
At the city pound, the 3 chipmunks were tossed into a cage with a crowd of homeless dogs and cats. After the guard locked the cage, he sat down in his chair and began to doze. As soon as Simon saw that the guard was sound asleep, he started to pick the lock on their cage. Theodore looked over and whispered,
You're making too much noise.
Alvin was busy making plans. He turned to the other animals and said,
When I give the signal, everyone head for the hills.
A little while later, the guard awoke. He got to his feet and slowly walked to the cage where the animals were kept. They all seemed to be asleep. But then a little voice cried,
No!
Stampede! Dogs, cats, and chipmunks came tearing out of the cage. They flattened the guard to the ground and were gone before he knew what hit him. Dave was gloomily plunking out tunes on the piano when Alvin, Simon, and Theodore burst in. They told Dave about their narrow escape. When they were finished, Dave announced,
That does it. We're moving. Just as soon as I finish a song and make some money.
while Dave was plunking away, Alvin pointed to a magazine Simon was holding. It had a wild-looking tribesman on the cover. That gave Alvin an idea, and he asked,
Dave, why not write a song about a witch doctor?
Dave shook his head sadly and said,
I appreciate your help, fellas, but I don't think so.
But Alvin persisted,
Just listen, Dave. Just listen.
and before Dave knew it, the three chipmunks were singing a funny song.
And then the witch doctor, he told me what to do. He said that, ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ding, ding, wah-wah, ding, ding.
I love it! I love it!
The chipmunks sang their song one more time, and Dave recorded it on his tape recorder. 5 minutes later, he and his little musical friends were on their way to the Megabucks Record Company. Alvin, Simon, and Theodore waited in the hall outside Mr. Mogul's office while Dave played their song. When the tape ended, they heard Mr. Mogul bellow.
I know a hit song when I hear it, Seville, and this is a bomb.
With that, he threw the tape out the door. Luckily, Alvin caught the tape and replied,
A bomb, huh? We'll see about that.
Alvin looked around and saw that there was a radio station next door. The disc jockey was just leaving for his coffee break. Alvin turned to Theodore and Simon and whispered,
As soon as he's out of sight, in we go.
The three chipmunks sneaked into the DJ's booth. Simon put their tape on the player and pressed the button. Meanwhile, in the office next door, Mr. Mogul was shouting at Dave,
You want to hear what a hit sounds like? Listen to this.
and he turned on his radio. Out
I
came,
told the witch doctor I was in love with you. I told the witch doctor I was in love with you.
the Witch Doctor song. Dave turned around and saw three heads peeping in. Alvin winked as the chipmunks came into the office. Mr. Mogul was saying,
David, I'll give you a contract.
$20,000 a year.
Dave was just about to accept when Alvin jumped up on Mr. Mogul's desk and popped a cigar in his mouth. Shaking his head, Alvin snapped.
We'll take 50,000 plus a new car.
Mr. Mogul sighed and said,
You're a hard man, chipmunk, to bargain with, but it's a deal.
The next day, Dave and the chipmunks loaded the car and moved out. Mr. Roach stood watching them. Hoping to change their minds, he said,
You know, boys, I was always very fond of you three. I can tell that you guys will go straight to the top. Having celebrities rent my apartment is good for business, so I tell you what I'm going to do. I'll give you the house rent-free for 3 months.
Dave and the chipmunks looked at him in silence.
6 months? I'll even throw in window shades.
Dave and the chipmunks ignored him. They simply piled the last of their things into the new car and drove away. After a while, Dave stopped the car in front of a beautiful house. Smiling broadly, he pointed to it and said,
Here it is, boys, our new home.
The chipmunks jumped out of the car and stared. It was a dream come true. The house was bright, roomy, and their very own. Theodore gasped and said,
Thanks, Dave.
Simon sighed and added,
It's perfect.
and Alvin sang.
Ooh-ee-ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla, bing-bang.
So that was the Chipmunk story from 1984. So please like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day. And our next book will be The Get Along Gang and the New Neighbor.